WILDTHORN Hall by Jane Egland. I'm going to say England because I prefer to. Okay, so this was part of my Christmas haul from Santa. I read it in the space of an evening last night and I finished at about 2:30 AM, which is a little foolish. So, anywho, this concerns 17-year-old Louisa Cosgrove, who is wrongfully incarcerated into an insane asylum in the 19th century by her family. And we're at the beginning of the novel, this happens, and we're unsure as to why, and her backstory slowly unfolds, revealing her history with her family and also her personal aspirations and experiences, and we're kind of going along with her trying to piece together why her family felt compelled to do this to her. Of course, this was in an era where women, especially teenagers and middle-aged women, were very often submitted to these asylums for things such as menopause or severe menstrual cycles. All sorts of reasons that we can easily explain and treat today, that people were too ignorant and too chauvinistic and too foolish to acknowledge. Also, we didn't have the, advances in science and psychology that we do now, so they just didn't understand stuff. But women especially got the rough end of the stick and were incarcerated for all sorts of ridiculous reasons, and it was terrible. So, yes, Louisa is put into WILDTHORN Hall, and we witness her struggle between, deterioration in her mental state and her emotional state, and also her just struggling to try and keep resolve and get the hell out of there and stay true to herself and hold on to what she knows about her own identity and her own desires. And it's a nice mix and a nice struggle for a reader to see. But, I mean, it's dark stuff, dark material in there, as you would expect, considering it's in an asylum. And, yeah, not light reading, I'll say that much. And also, this isn't really a spoiler, but I'll say, just give you a warning anyway, there's the lesbian aspect, because Louisa, aside from being an independent and very intelligent girl who has wanted for years to follow in her father's footsteps and be a doctor, she has a passion for science and experimenting and treating the sick. That's what she wants to, that's the vocation she wants in life. And her father was always very supportive and encouraging of this, even though I think he was a bit baffled by it. Her mother and her brother not so much. They found it shocking. She was going against social norms of what a female should do, and she was neglecting the assumed role of mother and wife. She didn't want any part of that, and she wanted to have a profession, and you just didn't do that back then, or it was very rare. This Florence Nightingale had just been the first qualified nurse going out and doing stuff. So, yeah, it was very shocking, and she was rocking the boat and embarrassing everybody. So that's one of the reasons we suspect she was incarcerated, but another is that she had been harbouring very strong feelings for her cousin, Grace. She'd always seen Grace as a role model and had a very strong affection for her, but that had sort of blossomed during her teen years, and she had a very strong physical attraction to her, and I'll leave it at that. But, yeah, we kind of, alongside her, we kind of spend the novel as things are revealed. We start to think, oh, well, gee, in their foolish minds of her family, there were probably a lot of reasons why they thought she should be admitted to this hospital. And we see later when her admission papers are revealed, there's just ridiculous stuff that seems so commonplace and so easy to explain for us that, must have been so frightening to them. And there is a love story element in there that is quite sweet, and I was very happy with that pairing. It came together nicely. I'll get onto that in a sec. Okay, so I said earlier that it flowed well, and it did, but it did feel like a lot of it was kind of, I don't want to say superficial, but it did feel like skimming a little bit. I had to keep reminding myself, though, this is a YA novel, and it's not in just a general fiction labeling, so I suppose too much detail would have been quite heavy-handed and a little bit too graphic, perhaps. But also, just the standard plot itself, nothing surprised me, because I have read quite a few books featuring the standard idea of sane girl is put into crazy place, and I've seen several films on that as well. Sarah Waters Fingersmith, I highly recommend. But yeah, because I kind of knew certain experiences she was going to go through, events that would occur, people she would meet, especially, kind of knew all the characters that would be in the asylum in particular, the matrons, the other patients. I could predict everything, and nothing happened that I wasn't expecting. So that was a shame. That said, everything that happened was handled fairly well. Some things were rushed though, particularly towards the end when it felt like the author suddenly realised that she was running out of pages and she had to wrap things up, so it was very haphazardly put together. It did feel rushed. Some things I think were forgotten about, so we'd spent some time learning about certain characters and their plight, and then it was either kind of concluded in a way that didn't feel credible for what we'd just read about, or it wasn't concluded and was kind of just ignored. So that made me a little bit upset. Aside from those two things, though, nothing really grated me about the book. I liked Louisa as a protagonist and as the narrator. I did feel for her very strongly, and she was... What I liked is that, I mean, it did have a very strong feminist overtone in it. Not in a bad way, but then I'm biased because I'm a strong feminist, but what I like is that it really did feel... It felt credible and real for her character. It didn't feel as though it was just another social theme that was getting pushed in through there. And she wasn't just a, you know, a soapbox. She wasn't just a spokesperson for these kind of ideas that the author wanted to put through. It felt like it was really coming from her heart. She had some moments where she really stood up and was assertive and made these declarations, but it felt very genuine, and I liked that. Because you can feel, especially with that kind of thing, when it's kind of a little bit insincere and you can't visualize it as coming from this person. So I liked that. That was good. Yeah, so I'm running out of things to say and I'm always taking too long. So I say I would give this novel 4 stars out of 5. Yeah, 4 stars out of 5. Kind of felt about it the same way I felt when I finished Melinda Lowe's Ash. Similar kind of feeling. One thing though, what is the deal with novels, YA novels, featuring female protagonists who like reading, especially, and are intelligent? What is the deal with those protagonists having brothers named Tom who are ignorant and selfish and stupid and cruel and chauvinistic? And why are they all named Tom, and why do most of them have gambling addictions, and why do they treat their sisters poorly, and why are they ignorant of what they need, and why? And why are they all named Tom? Was there just an abundance of really evil Toms back then? Anyway, so yeah, I'm just curious. I've read several books now featuring really mean Toms. I'm glad I don't have a brother named Tom, so yeah. WILDTHORN Hall by Jane Egland. 4 stars out of 5. I'm going to shut up now.